but I remember everything, you know.
I love that you remember everything. Welcome to the Memoir Cafe. Today's guest is Aurora Lewis, whose book, Jigsaw Puzzle in a Vortex, is just out.
I wake up and there's something on my mind. A lot of it is how I get my feelings regarding depression out.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the jazz poems that I write, I've become good friends with the editor there. And he always says, "You got any jazz poems?" So I'll think of something and write,
You
you know,
say,
so
sure,
he'll.
I do. Yeah. These pieces are called Memoir. That's the subtitle, right? But they also still have that musicality. I love that about your writing, that you have a lot of good sound, but I also just love your voice. You're a truth teller. Even if maybe somebody doesn't want to hear that truth, you're going to tell how you saw it.
It's funny. Like I said, I'll wake up and I'll remember something. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, let me write this down. I
Mm-hmm.
have a really wonderful review. I was astounded when this woman wrote the review and she was saying what my truths are. And she's in England, but it just really almost brought me to tears what she said about how I write. And she
Mm.
said in England, they're not that forthcoming about themselves.
No. As you said earlier, that writing helps you with your depression. How does writing help with depression?
It helps me get it out. I don't have anybody to talk to that I think would understand.
Mhm.
So I write about how I'm feeling. And I love poetry. So I write a poem. But I always hope that if someone reads it, that they get something out of it. I want people to know you're not by yourself in this, you know? And a lot of people, particularly Black people, don't want to admit that they have mental illness. I think a lot of people have mental illness. You just try to get through it.
It's not like you're just writing about the weather. You're writing some heavy duty stuff. You're writing truth. And so if you just have some, you meet somebody on the street, you don't usually go to that level, but in writing, you can go there. And then how
Mhm.
you said a lot of people, especially Black people, don't want to stop and write about mental illness or just suffering. And I
Mhm.
wonder if that's just because when you're trying to survive, if you stop, it feels like you might get swallowed whole by it. You know what I mean? Like you're just
Yeah,
so used to pushing forward, pushing forward.
yeah, I think so. They don't want to be judged, you know, that
Right.
something's wrong with them.
I mean, I remember living in certain neighborhoods where we didn't have the language to talk about. We didn't even know what mental illness was, but I
Yeah.
guarantee you everybody was mentally ill because they were usually single moms and they were
Yeah.
stressed and they were depressed.
A person should write what they feel. Don't
Mhm.
copy anybody. Don't worry about what anybody says. Don't worry about it being published.
Mhm.
Write for yourself. I never thought I'd be published. And we had a lesson in Carol Potter's class at UCLA. And
Mhm.
one of the classes was submit a poem.
Mhm.
And I think the first one I sent to was Stephanie Corey at
Mhm.
the Literary Hatchet.
Mhm.
And she's been accepting my things since then, 2008. My aunt once sent me a bunch of notes about my great grandfather, who
Ah.
was a cowboy. He was a cow. He was a horse whisperer. He got into it with the owner of the ranch,
Mhm.
and he hit him. So my
Mhm.
grandfather had to get out of there. And there
Mhm.
was a doctor that was a friend of his. He was a white doctor, and he gave him money to send the family to California. And that's how my grandfather got here. He was 10 years old. My grandfather was very successful. They picked oranges, and I don't know how he went from oranges, but he had a cafe in downtown LA that was
Wow.
very popular,
Mhm.
and they changed the zoning to get him away, get him out of there. He was making too much money. Then another man, a white man, bought a cafe, but it failed. He didn't cook like my great grandfather did. And
Mhm.
then my great grandfather had a boarding house. And my
Mhm.
mother would tell me about all the strange people when she was little that lived in that boarding house.
Because one of my favorite pieces, well, there's so many little pieces from this book that just stay with me, but it's just something. I think it's a little white boy, but it doesn't even matter what color he is. There's a girl who's being mean to you, and she's
Oh, yeah.
threatened. She feels threatened. But then you get that little voice. I think you're pretty. I love that you pay attention to those things. Your great grandfather's story sounds amazing. I mean, it sounds like he just worked so hard. If he started off with picking, picking
Yeah.
oranges, and then was able to get that cafe, even though he was cheated out of it, really,
Yeah.
that he could do that, that he could move. He sounds
Mhm.
like a really intriguing cowboy.
Yeah.
Everybody likes a cowboy.
Yeah. I love cowboys. I always have. Puzzle pieces. I cried for no reason, contemplating the meaning of life because I thought there was none, as I searched for the missing pieces to push into place and make my puzzle whole. But the pieces were lost to me as I crawled about the floor, my hands outstretched, feeling my way through the darkness of my depression. Then, like Alice, I was handed a pill to make my inner pain small and the sense of who I am large enough for me to see through the looking glass that the world was not a great place enclosed in fog, but a wonderland where sunshine warms my face, moonbeams dance on calm seas, orange blossoms perfume the air, and thoughts of those I love bring a smile to my face as I watch the lost pieces fall gently into my palm and the mocking grin of the Cheshire cats fading away. I step lightly through memories, careful to avoid the pitfalls of pain, shielding myself from the acid rain, reminiscent of my weeping tears. I step lightly into a hermit's cave, deaf to a lover's song gone wrong, submerged beneath the spring of hope, stepping lightly, trying not to fall in love again. Thank you.
Really good. Thank
Thank you.
you. If you like what you heard, check out the link below to order a copy of Aurora's book and to learn more about her. Thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you next time at the Memoir Cafe.